Are you ready to talk about Tijon Saloun?
Let's do it.
So Tijon Saloun is a guy who's certainly getting top 10 buzz right now, certainly lottery buzz at least. And I feel like I've been talking about this for a couple of months on the show at this point, but Saloun is a guy that NBA teams are a lot more excited about than what the public was and has been. I think the public has like finally caught up is maybe a fair way to categorize it. It took a while, but like I think he's a good player. But we're going to break down tape here from, another French league playoff game. Saloon's Cholet team played Paris in the playoffs. And again, much like we did with Rissache breaking down his best game in the French league playoffs, we're going to break down Saloon's best game in the French league playoffs, where I think he had like 19 points, 8 rebounds. This is the May 15th game, right? Interesting player. For people who don't know, I would say Tidjane Salaun is 6'9" without shoes, somewhere in that ballpark, maybe like 6'8", 7'5", in that range, 6'8", maybe. 7'2" wingspan, I would guess. Maybe 7'1" wingspan. I'm just like kind of ballparking these measurements. Sure. We should get them later this week.
We should get them soon, right?
From Eurocamp, but we'll, see if that happens. Big physical frame, as we'll talk about. We can bring up the tape now as we're going. He is enormous for an 18-year-old.
Yes.
Like, he's a big dude.
Yeah.
So, he's kind of behind someone right now, but here. So this is Tijon Saloun. It's funny. I was talking to a scout for a team that came over to the Blitz in September. And I asked him, look, like right now, the international class, like, outside of Rissache and like a couple other guys, like doesn't look super wild this year. Who's the guy that you think will like move up? And he immediately said Saloun. And that was back like in September. So I've kind of had my eye on him since then. Saloon's game, before we like really dive into this, I think of him right now as more of like an Aaron Gordon style garbage man than a like skilled 4-man that I feel like he gets billed as a lot of the time. How do you feel about that?
It's funny you say that because I've moved him up on my board. Again, I don't know who we were talking about, but we were trying to find an Aaron Gordon type player for one of the teams we were discussing.
For Oklahoma City.
Okay.
Particularly.
No, yes. And it was like, man, there aren't as many of these guys in the league as what I would have guessed. And then as I continue to read my notes on Saloun, off-ball cutter, good off-ball instincts, offensive rebound, plays super hard defensively, like those type of things. I was like, man, I may not be valuing this archetype enough because I can, like when I dock him, it's the 3-point percentage isn't good. The rim finishing, I'm sure we'll talk about. Real question mark there. But the archetype is something that I was like, we talk about needing to find this type of player. And so like you saying that is exactly what I've tried to envision in my head.
And on top of it with him, I think that the jumper looks okay. Like it's going to take a couple of years for him to like be a consistent 3-point shooter, but I think that it's going to look okay. And we'll kind of talk about it. Let's just maybe start breaking down the tape and people can see what we're talking about as we go. Right. Yeah. So as I circled a minute ago, Saloun is the guy with the ball in his hands. He just handed the ball off there to his point guard and then kind of rolls back up, replaces. I think he does everything very decisively.
Sure. Yeah.
I think he does everything very decisively. And I think he's very, relatively quick with his decision-making for a younger player. And on top of that, he plays so hard. Like he just plays
hard.
So hard. He has incredible competitive spirit, incredible energy. And I really love it. This is a great assist. He had 3 assists in this game, if I remember correctly. Really, really just an excellent all around kind of role player to me right now for Cholet.
very deliberate action, right? That like he comes off, knows that he's supposed to roll back, catches, and immediately knows where he wants to go with the ball. He's not a creator. Like if you're looking for a guy that's going to do stuff with the ball in his hands and break down the defense that way, this isn't your guy. But in the role that he's going to have to play, making those quick decisions, being a connector is important. And just talking about how hard he plays, I put in my notes from like the first time I watched him, Sam, he like makes a difference in offensive transition. He runs so hard in transition offense. He doesn't just get himself buckets, he gets his teammates buckets because of the gravity that he draws. And I don't write that about a lot of players throughout this class. I mean, there's guys that are good in transition and you make notes of it. His really, really stood out to me.
Yeah. Big Mike S13 in the YouTube comments asks, do we see him as a better prospect than Ousmane Dieng was? I do. I think he's a way more interesting prospect than Dieng was. I was never a big Dieng fan, though.
They're different players, though, right? So I was on a Thunder
Very
pod.
different players.
Yeah, I was on a Thunder pod the other day, and they asked me to compare, and I had to give them complete transparency. I wasn't doing this in that draft, not at this level anyway, and so I wasn't super familiar, but as we talked about what Dieng was pitched at and has tried to be, I'm like, oh, no. We're talking about two entirely different players between Dieng and Saloon.
Totally right. So this one here, he's just going to circle him for the most part, especially early. Oh, he's this guy here. You're going to see him. He comes up. I think that like he navigates these screen actions well. Kind of hedges out real quick and guards in space, super active, super energetic.
Yeah.
I think his teammate kind of gets called for a foul there behind, but like you can just see the activity and the energy defensively, right? He's very mobile, I think, on the perimeter for a 6'9" guy, let's call him, without shoes.
Can you go back? Because I think what's impressive was I think he was he hedged first, and then his teammate got hung up on the screen. So then he had to make another effort. So here he's going to hedge high. His teammate should navigate that. He doesn't. And then he almost turns into drop coverage because his teammate still hasn't got through the screen. So you talk about multiple efforts and being able to do two different things. And one of them wasn't the scheme. That's really good for, again, 18 years old, doesn't turn 19 till a month after summer league is over.
Yep. No, just really, really active and like the high hands.
Yes.
And, just plays really, really hard. Plays really, really hard. I think he's going to be like a really good defender is kind of where I'm at. When I watch him, I just think of a guy that is probably going to turn out to be a good defender once the processing stuff comes around. This one, here he's guarding on the weak side, has to guard two there, ends up having to get caught like in the middle there. But, that's a really hard play for an 18-year-old playing professionally, right? Like he's on the weak side here. His low man here is tagging. He's, preparing for this guy right here to roll all the way to the rim, which means Saloon here is responsible for 1-2 guys, and he has to be able to play both of these guys, right? So he kind of sinks back into this area in between the two of them. He takes away the pass here. I think it's probably, I don't know enough about the scout that they're playing, right? Like, I don't know if they want one of these guys to shoot versus the other. Him, number 20, being the taller guy, I would assume that they would prefer him to shoot. I think that's Janssen maybe. And he just like misses this easy bunny. It doesn't look great on its face, but like that's a hard defensive possession. And like that's energetic. I like the fact that he's guarding two there.
I like the process. I love guys that understand that they're in rotation enough to take away the one more pass. He just overdoes it a little bit and completely puts himself out of position. Now, scheme may ask him to do this. Like you said, maybe this dude is like, and on our high school team, we call shooters and drivers. Maybe they want this dude to drive, right? He ends up missing. I don't know enough about the opponent here. I think he overplays it too much, but I love that he sees what is going on. I think you can coach him up to the next spot. Like, don't sink as much as you did. Don't overplay it quite as much. Use your length to take away the one more pass. Make him ball fake and go over the top, bounce pass to make it a little slower.
Yep. So Saloon here again, weak side of the action. Why didn't that get removed? Okay. So, he's just always available, right? Like you can see he's always available. Again, his man, the low man, has to tag in this guy here because you have a ball screen here where he's on the weak side, and this man, number 8, who I believe is Leon Kratzer, is going to be rolling to the rim. He rolls to the rim, gets the ball. Saloon right there for the closeout. Great, great, great defensive possession.
Watch him open his hips here because the offensive player attacks his high foot, his top foot, and he's able to open his hips, but not so much that he can't cut him off. That's really good on ball defense right there.
That's absolutely perfect team defense. The closeout is perfect. Flipping his hips is textbook. They get the ball, just like absolutely perfect. And by the way, he scores 19 points in this game. Like we haven't even talked about, any scoring yet, right? And we'll talk about the offense. But again, like you can see him bouncing around, super energetic, right? They just decide to switch here. He's like on a guard now. He navigates like all of this action super well, gets beaten, right? And you don't love that he gets beaten. I think that like he just kind of gets bouncy a little bit too often, right?
Does.
Like he just
Yes.
like kind of bounces up and down, falls for that screen there, and just gets totally beat, forces the help. That's a wide open 3 that's like kind of on him. But again, like as he gets older, I kind of can see a vision for how this would work really, really well.
I do think screen navigation is one of his weaker points from the first time, and it does for young kids. But again, what I like when you talk about process, so here I think watch what he does though. He gets beat. He sees his teammate come from the help in the corner, and he is pill switching to the corner. If his man had decided to make the pass or what. So again, he gives multiple efforts and he understands the idea of what he's supposed to do, even if he's not doing it perfectly yet.
100%, 100% right. So this one here, he's catching, we're firing from 3, right? So this is the first time that we get a real shot to take a look at his 3-point mechanics, right? So, almost everything it feels like for him is off the hop.
Yep.
Mechanically, high finish.
Yeah.
Gets the lower half involved. I think that there's probably, just based off the way that the ball comes out of his hand, I would think that there's probably some offhand involvement there. But again, like those mechanics look clean to me. Like I think he's probably going to be able to shoot it.
Yeah, I put in my notes. I'm interested to watch these because in my notes I had early in the season that he was a little slow, and that one didn't look as slow as what I had thought. So maybe he was able to speed things up throughout the season.
Has made 33.9% of his catch and shoots this season on 180 3-point attempts, according to Synergy. That is, a good enough building block, I think is what I would say. Not like an amazing one, but it's good enough. Ball comes back out to him after the miss, makes the extra pass. Awesome play. Just, misses the shot, but stays engaged with the play. This one comes up to the wing, kind of shot fakes it. This is where we can kind of start to get into like the finishing stuff.
Yeah.
This is a foul. He draws a foul here. So like positive play, right? I like that he attacks his man's top foot, can get, downhill because of the athleticism. The thing I notice on his drives is like, look at the takeoff point, right?
Yeah.
I think
just take one more dribble.
Yeah. Just very, very far. I think he kind of gets worried by, this is Nadir Heafy here, who's coming down to, kind of, I don't even know that I would call this a dig. It's just like more of like a stunt dig here, but like him coming down, I think kind of gives Saloon like some nerves a little bit, and he picks it up. Yeah, he comes up, misses the shot. I grabbed some free throws as well that we'll kind of talk about. So here,
75% from the free throw line on the year. So as you were talking about just the numbers,
to me, everything looks pretty clean here. I will say that like you can kind of see like the offhand thumb kind of get involved.
You can see, because we can see the back of his hand with his offhand, which means he turned it as he was going into the jumper.
Yeah. Like you can kind of see right in there that like the thumb is like kind of involved a little bit. That's fixable. Like that's stuff that you can work with for sure. Like you said, 75% from the line, shoots a very high ball. We'll see more free throws as we go through this, right? Um, again, here defensively, he's off the ball right here, kind of working through all sorts of early action from Paris, ends up, kind of switching onto Heafy here, and then just like decides to like peel switch onto that guy. Keeps communicating throughout it though. Like that's the thing. Like when you see him underneath the rim here, like I think you'll notice that like he kind of calls out to one of his teammates, like that he's kind of going, and that he like kind of made that move. Now he's jumping around. He's going to like try and trap. He's just very active and energetic. Like to me, like he kind of blows this entire action up just by being like kind of early and aggressive here. Like even just look at the start of it. Like this is a funky action where they try to run like a flare to get Heafy loose. Heafy's like this awesome scorer. He's a draft prospect last year. I frankly think he should have gotten stashed. And again, like they just keeps calling out peel switches, keeps making these crazy scramble switches, just, active and energetic and aggressive. And I love the way that like you can tell he really looks at the scout and like understands the scout based on how he positions his body, right? Like he's constantly positioning his body in ways that like almost certainly have to come from the scout to me.
Yeah. He does get a little bounce. You mentioned that, or like at times he's just a little
bouncy.
bit he's got to slow himself down just a little bit at times, but I would rather that than the alternative.
Yeah, it's that. Like I would rather have the activity. So, here in the corner, my circles just get worse and worse as I use this little pen tool. It's the best.
It's been a little rough. Nice.
So that's a cut there. Really sharp cut all the way to the rim, finds just that little open area really, really well. We'll get to that here now where, as soon as he sees that this guy is, realizing that he's probably got a 1-on-2 on the weak side, his head's turned. He's looking at the ball. Awesome pass, and he's just available in there. One thing I will say about Saloun is does not have a ton of vertical pop to me.
Sure.
More of a long, like, laterally mobile player than like a particularly vertical player. This season, in half court settings, he has made just 43.6% of his layups, which is a crazy low number. Like almost for someone who's this big and long, like almost an impossibly low number.
Yeah.
For someone who also has like really low or really, decent touch as well, and is coordinated on some level, at least. We'll talk about like some of the coordination stuff later, but like a very weird thing that he loses his touch, this much around the basket.
Yeah. No, and that's what I mean. I was just scouring my scout on him, and nowhere do I mention good vertical pop or anything like that. I didn't mention it being negative, but that kind of tracks that. I can't remember anything that just really stands out with like, oh man, that's real big time explosion or anything. I mean, obviously he looks good when he gets out in transition, but
no, I agree. So, again, right around half court, Heafy sets this early screen, just kind of gets caught, right? Yep. That's a pretty negative one to me, where he just gets caught. Can't get caught early in transition like that. You're going to get hit a little bit too easily. This one in the corner, weak side corner now, coming across, bouncy, available as the low man, covers ground for the closeout, does a fantastic job there.
Yeah.
Exactly what you want to see from him. Exactly what you're hoping to see from a
really nice closeout
in that setting. So this one, again, thinks he has an angle, gets the drive, finishes at the rim. This is just,
that's nice.
A good finish, right? You get this early like cross screen out of horns where he's able to catch this, get downhill. I love the inside hand finish. I think his footwork kind of lets him down from time
No,
to time.
like right here, I feel like he should be putting this down with his inside hand, really stretching, but he plays through some contact, which is nice. I mean, the defender has his hand on his hip the whole time. So,
Yep. Does a great job getting all the way to the rim, finishing. This one, misses the free throw again. Like, I don't really have a ton to say about the free throw here. Kind of saw it from the back, but I feel like he gets his legs a little bit less involved in
yeah.
this one, maybe, than what the previous one was. Misses. It has the ball in the wing there, kicks it out to the top. I love how he just like replaces to the top. Just has like good natural instinct to me. It feels like whenever he's moving around and roaming around
Was
on
the shot
offense.
clock running out there?
Good question.
Yeah. Okay. That's why he
Yeah,
didn't
3
pass it.
seconds left on the shot clock. Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, that's tough.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's fair.
It's like a scramble situation, like it's whatever. But again, like you just take a look at the shot, right? Like this is a tough one where he's like kind of wrong footed. I do think that he is a player right now, like needs to have his feet set.
Sure.
Like no movement shooting
Not a movement
whatsoever
shooter.
right
Agreed.
now. Like nothing remotely like that. I think that he's really a guy that has to have the feet set before he's going to be able to shoot it at a decent clip right now. Obviously, like you would like to see him be able to knock down those shots, but it's just going to be hard. This one, I like that he makes that like extra, move down, right? He's the last guy back. Nobody picks up Nadir Heafy like coming across. He kind of can't make an early read because he's same side of the action, right? Like he's same side of the ball here. If he makes this read to rotate now, I mean, that's just like the easiest corner kick out in the world.
Yeah.
Ball comes out. He makes that little scramble rotation where he covers ground though in a real way.
He makes
you
the
know what I
offensive
mean?
player feel him. Sure.
Yeah. So really smart, high energy, high effort. Never have to worry about that. This is a really good defensive rebound, I thought, where it doesn't have to get a body on anybody, but it does end up being like a contested situation with their big where he's able to grab the ball. I will note there are some like coordination things where I see him where like it doesn't feel like he's like 100% like in control of his limbs and like balanced in the way you would like to see. Like this should be a turnover at the end of
Yeah.
the day.
Yeah.
His man like makes like a miracle, saving play, but that's one that like should be a rebound and a turnover. This one, I think he gets kind of caught high there, to be honest, but gets called for the foul, puts himself in like a tougher spot. But as you can see here, he's just like kind of high and like it almost feels like he's like losing track of how deep in the corner his man is. And even for like the most athletic guy laterally, when your back is all the way turned like this, there's just no way. Like you're not going to be able to stop that guy from driving into the paint. You're going to put yourself in a difficult spot. He ends up fouling here. There are some like lower end plays that he makes on the defensive end.
Yeah, I was gonna say there are times where I don't love his body positioning off the ball, and it's not like a huge thing. I think it'll be something he'll fix, but like just little stuff like that where he gets a little too high. I think sometimes he gets turned around. Sometimes he like will spin all the way around as he's trying to figure it out. And I think it's because he's always wanting to be active. I think it'll sort itself out. There's going to be times where he's going to get beat during his rookie season, especially, but he's going to make up for it with the multiple efforts.
Yep. As you can see off of movement again, loves the shot fake off of movement, gets back into the dribble handoff. They get into a ball screen, replaces to the top. Now he's driving, right? And loses the ball.
Just he wasn't. So we've seen two clips now where the off-ball defender has dug at him. And I feel like one play wasn't egregious. I just thought it was wrong where he ended up getting fouled and going to the free throw line. And then here they just catch him completely off guard and he's not ready for it because his teammate's wide open.
Yeah, I don't feel great about him putting the ball on the deck right now, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I don't feel particularly great about like the skill level in general with Saloon. But this one here, weak side corner.
Great cut.
I like the cut there.
Yeah.
I think that cut actually opens up this three ball.
Absolutely. Right? 100%.
So, he comes up, they do an exchange. He cuts that way. Number 10
Oh, yeah, that's a cut assist or however you want to say it. I mean,
Who's
that
on
dude,
number 26 has to shoot that way. Yeah.
yeah, that's awesome. That's
It's a
perfectly. It's been timed both times too, Sam. Like I think so. Like cutting, you can't just cut at any time. You have to wait for the right time to do it. And as much as we talk about him kind of like always bouncing and being ready, he has been able to be patient on the two examples and then cut at the right time to attack the defense.
Yep, that's right. Leads to this 3. Great cut, cut assist. I'm all for that as a like stat to use. But activity and like energy, right? That's the thing. Again, cut, perfect timed cut. Again, that's what he does well. Like he cuts really well. And again, that's why the name like Aaron Gordon, like comes up to me when I watch him. Now, the problem with him and comparing him to Aaron Gordon is he is nowhere near as athletic as Aaron Gordon vertically.
Or do you think he has the feel? Like, you think he's going to pass in some of those things as well as, and definitely doesn't have the handle? You think he can get to the same level with that type of stuff? Definitely not the athlete. Like that's not even a question. Can he get to some of the feel, the dribble? I guess,
Aaron was more advanced at Arizona, like running ball screens occasionally and things like that.
but it doesn't matter, I guess, for the archetype that you're gonna want. Like maybe that stuff doesn't matter at all.
It does. I think it does. Like if he can shoot it, it matters less. But
sure.
like,
yeah,
it definitely does matter. I think
Yeah.
being able to like make decisions on the fly and like process basketball, right? So again, weak side corner here, now strong side corner. Again, I love the little like it's almost like a shake action where he's like coming up to the top. This is one where I think his footwork just like totally lets him down. And he gets bailed out by a foul call, right?
Yeah.
So, again, pass fake into the drive. The thing about the handle too, like you can see it, like this is a perfect angle of it. The handle is so loose.
Yeah.
That is so far from his body.
Because it's not like he's not making a dribble move. He's literally just driving downhill with his left hand with no defender around him. There's no that's gonna get taken.
Yeah, and then like you can see here, like the way that like his feet get kind of caught up there as he goes and gathers. Like obviously contacted, but that's a smaller guy that like you'd be hoping that he could kind of go through contact wise. Again, draws the foul, but yeah, just there are some skill things that need to improve with Saloon. This one,
great effort on that. Wow,
tracks the offensive rebound down. Always just so active and energetic on offense and defense. I love that part of his game. We're into the third quarter now. Saloon, sets the screen, filters to the corner, waits for the ball. Again, like to me here, the feet are sort of ready, but not really, right? Like his feet are, he's got like one angled this way. He's got one angled toward the rim, right? And then he like kind of just like goes off the hop to try and get them set. And that's like a super contested shot. 10 seconds left on the shot clock. Not the kind of shot we want, right? Not what we're hoping for. Next, again, same corner, lifts up to the wing. He's going to try and drive, just very loose, like can't get by that guy at all.
Yeah. Great effort on the offensive boards. Like, I don't know if he comes up with that one. I assume he doesn't, but that was great effort sprinting in there, trying to get inside position. There's been a few of those where he hasn't come up with it, but you can see defenders are going to have a nightmare keeping him off the offensive boards.
Yep. Baseline drive into a nice little dump off pass.
Yeah. Nice.
Ends up being an assist. This is like maybe the thing that I was most impressed with him.
I think I would agree offensively.
On the offensive end, like in this game.
Attacks a closeout.
Attacks the closeout, 2 dribbles into a nice little dump off pass. That's the kind of stuff that I like really like. And that like you can hope is a growth area for him. In terms of like the passing in general throughout the course of the year, Saloon averaged, 1 assist per game. Yeah. Basically, this was like one of the better passing games that he had this year. This is absolutely not the norm. This play, like for the most part, it's just reversals, his assists. But this was a good flash to have on tape. You don't want to, overcorrect for it though. Again, here comes down, then sprints. Look at him sprinting. Look at him go.
So here's what I love. Can we go back to the beginning?
Adore this.
Go back just a little bit further though.
Yeah.
Because I cannot tell you how many guys will not do what he does when this shot goes up on the weak side. Shot goes up. He's out on the perimeter. His teammates are getting box outs. He comes sprinting in on the weak side to get involved. And if you told me that he's the dude that beats everybody else down the floor right now, you would that's not a bet you would normally make it, based off where people are positioned. And the other thing is, right now, when I talk about transition getting his teammates open, look at all the gravity he has in the lane, where if that pass isn't thrown, he has teammates trailing to the 3-point line that would have been wide open. If he ends up on a team who wants to go, he is going to make a major impact in transition.
This is why I want him in Oklahoma City for what it's worth.
Yeah.
But continuing on now defensively, weak side, comes in, gives that little bit of stunt help, right? On early offense or early defensive possession, right? And it's just ground coverage, right? Look at him going from, almost the middle of the lane all the way out to an awesome contest. That's a lot of ground to cover. He has a chance to be, I think, a really, really good defensive player, really, really good defensive player. This one here, this is one where it's just totally out of control in terms of his movements. I don't know what he saw there. It's obviously a take foul, but it's a very confusing take foul. He just hip checks the guy.
Yeah.
Now we're into the fourth quarter, and this is where the offense really starts to kick in, right? I think he has 10 points, in pretty quick succession here. Just look at the screening, pops out, confident three.
Yeah.
It's basically pick and pop three.
It's a nice shot.
Yeah.
Footwork.
Here we can actually kind of see the feet here, right? Gets the right foot down first, then left.
Oh yeah, no, that's nice. Yeah.
Drills the shot. Next one, again, very, similar-y start to the set where he's setting the screen. Ooh. And again, back screen, right? Or back cut, right? So I love how he sees this so early, right? He sees his man tag. His man comes in here defensively to try and cut off this guy who's rolling to the rim. He sees it. He sees his man look at him, and he puts the hand up.
Yeah.
He can see that his man's looking at him. Throws up the lob. Catches it at the square, top of the square, right?
Yeah.
2 feet, off the ground, right? This is where I think we see the length, right? I do think he probably is a 7'2" wingspan. That's long. He is very long, clearly.
Yeah, those numbers will be interesting that we get over this next few days.
Hopefully, yeah. This one here,
communication. Lets his man know that he's 2 on and X's out. That's beautiful. And he doesn't get involved on that defensive board, but he was trying to get back involved.
Yep. So gets out here. So let's start this a little bit further back. So sees the screen, communicates with the smaller guy here. The key here is that recognizes that this is the smaller player and that they're going to want him, who is 6'9", without shoes, probably 7'1", 7'2" wingspan, whatever we want to call it. They're going to want him in the lane instead and hit this guy to guard 1-on-2. So what do we see here? We get the reversal. Like you said, his man comes up, guards. He's responsible for the kick out to Heafy, right? I love this defender. Like, this is just fantastic from this defender, right? Like, look at his footwork there, positioning, keeping this extra pass from happening while Saloon gets back into this play. This is just awesome, awesome, awesome defense, right? They end up giving up the drive. His man's there. It's fantastic defensive possession. It's a fantastic defensive possession across the board.
Yeah. That's good stuff. I mean, that's stuff we've broke down with defenses in the NBA in terms of, and I think what's important there for everybody to understand, usually like the generic thing there is just the low man, the lower guy is the tag man, but his awareness to know, hey, I'm the bigger guy on this side. I'm going to go tag. And he pointed and communicated it to his teammate to make sure his teammate knew he was doing that and his teammate needed to go play 2-on-1.
That's right. So this one, they kind of run like this weird like flare action out for him. Throws the extra pass, pump fake, drive, draws the foul. Again, like, to me, that's one that I would like to see him finish, to be honest with you. I know that like he gets the foul call, but that's not a lot of contact. Like, and he gets like a pretty clean release there. In terms of Saloon's touch, on runners, Saloon is 2 for 17 this year on runners or floaters, according to Synergy. There's just not like a crazy amount of skill there right now with him. Is kind of my concern. As we kind of run through these last few here, as you can see, super tight game. Cholet is up 3. Comes across, extra pass down to the corner. They get this weird skip pass to the corner. He cuts again. Offensive rebound, finishes at the basket. Just the effort. It's always the effort. The effort and energy is unbelievable. He just runs and moves and is constantly flying around. He's a fantastic off-ball player. He's a fantastic off-ball player.
And he moves the ball well. I think that's part of being a good off the ball player as well. Multiple of these clips, he catches and he makes the one more pass or the rotation or the swing, however you want to phrase it. He does a really nice job of that. And that's helpful, right? Maybe he doesn't attack closeouts real well early in his career, but if he can catch and shoot, cut, offensive rebound, but keep the ball moving and it never sticks, that's a huge value until he figures some of the other stuff out, if he ever does.
Yep. Basically the same set as the last one here. Rolls back up to the top. I mean, the confidence is serious.
Yeah.
Like
big time shot.
This is literally the next possession right after that last one, after he got that offensive rebound. I mean, look at the footwork, the bend. This is the exact shot. Like, this is the mechanics you want from this shot, right? This shot to me is like the building block for him, right? Perfect balance. Look at his body, just like straight up and down. This shot is the building block to me, where like you believe that he can be a shooter.
Yeah.
If you are 18 years old and you can do this, coming off of like a quick little replace movement where you have to get your feet up under you with 9 seconds, 8 seconds left on the shot clock, up over a contest, I can work with this. Yeah. Like, given where like 34% off the catch already on decent volume, that is something I can work with at the end of the day.
In a big moment.
And this one, in a huge moment, comes down, kind of loses control of his body. He knows it. He calls it out immediately. You'd like to see him get the rebound, and you'd like to see him not drill Heafy there. Again, the control of the body sometimes isn't always elite, but the effort on the glass is always elite. Having said that, he just got swatted by like a guard going up for this little floater, and that's not ideal here.
Yeah.
Next up, you can see weak side, active, ready. They're running some like guard to guard screening actions. He gets kind of caught sleeping there, but then like
continues to play.
Scram switches like all the way out to the wing. Again, like the ground coverage is absurd, just completely ridiculous. Like totally falls asleep here, but recognizes where he needs to get to. I love the processing on defense. I love that he recognizes that's not the easiest guy like Karl Towns blows this like regularly in the NBA, like recognizing where he needs to scramble switch to. And Saloon recognizes it at 18 years old, like immediately.
Well, and most guys would just, oh, I got beat back door, and they just stand on that side of the lane. I mean, he covers all the way to the other side of the floor to the opposite wing, where most guys would just kind of hang out and be like, oh shoot, next possession. And he just
Right.
doesn't give up on plays.
Never gives up on plays. This might be the last one we have here. I don't remember what this is, to be honest with you. A screen here. He gets kind of like back screened and still finds a way to get out for the contest for the closeout. I mean, I think we all like have a good feeling of what Saloon is at this point.
Yeah.
To me, the archetype here is like garbage man, like Aaron Gordon-y kind of player, but he's not as skilled as what Aaron was coming out of Arizona. Having said that, I think that the shot is much more advanced than what Gordon was coming out of Arizona. For the role, like you can say that, like honestly, like it might be more important for him to have the shot than like all the rest of the on-ball stuff. I do think that like this was a great game for him, like offensive processing wise, right? As compared to a lower level game for him, which we've seen many of this year. This was his best game of the season, I would argue, given the defense and everything as well. And the moment, like given how important this was, playoff game, quarterfinals against Paris, everything. I still have him like back half of the lottery personally. I have him, I think, like somewhere like 12 to 14 right now.
Yeah, I
Like
think
somewhere in that ballpark.
he's right around 10, 11, 12 for me, in a tier that goes through the back half of the lottery to the mid first round. So we're in a similar place with him.